Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're back. We're live.
We're here.
We're here. We're alive.
Wow.
We're here. We're happy to drink whiskey with you. Look, what's going on? Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Matt.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
We made it.
We made it. You made it. You had a big day.
We both had actually pretty busy days, but we're really excited to be doing hosting the Vaults Collection virtual with you tonight. I'm just going to quickly throw up the first little notice down the bottom here. This is the Vaults Collection virtual. Please share your home setup with us. If you have a box, if you have one of your Vaults Collection boxes in front of you, ready to join us tonight. This is really exciting. This is 5 of the rarest whiskies the Society's ever offered up in one box. And we get to host it for you around the country, which is really exciting. And, of course, just use the hashtag VaultsVirtual, and we'll see it on Instagram, put it on Twitter, put it in our Facebook group. However you want to communicate, we always appreciate it, of course. Tonight is about Vaults Collection, about the whiskies that you see in your menu there are all from our Vaults Collection. We have our white label standard single cask releases. We have our premium livery black ones. And then above that, every so often we get to see, we're lucky to see what's called a Vaults Collection release, which come in these intimidatingly big and heavy black boxes here.
Here's one you prepared earlier.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
It is a nice box, though.
It is a very nice box, and it's got an empty bottle in it. So in this case, it's one that I've already poured out. But it's very exciting to be able to share this around with you all and go from there. I'm just going to grab some of the comments coming in already. Happy Friday indeed, says Dr. Akers, good to see you. Jesse Morgan, hope you're well. Send it, says Dr. Akers. Jason says, got mine poured and ready. My 95 smells, not like an Isla. Oh, and my 53 smells peaty. Bizarre. A 53 smelling peaty, is that bizarre?
Well,
we're going to find out the hard way.
Can I just derail you for a moment?
Please do.
I'm looking over here on a slightly different screen. I'm seeing a different feed to Matt, and you've now got some strange new feature that actually brings up subtext. Everything we're saying is appearing.
You got a subtext? Huh?
I do. Are you implying I'm hearing impaired? Like,
if I say like, blah, 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 well, I want to see how that comes out in a moment.
It said Brooke Laddie.
Well played. And evening, Matt and AD, greetings from Cairns. Good to see you, Darren Howie. Hope you're well.
Hello, James Carden. Thank you. James says I'm looking very dapper. I was aware Robert Akers was watching tonight, so I had to put the waistcoat on. I would cop flack if I didn't wear a waistcoat. So, that's Robert, this is for you. James, thank you for noticing.
And Drew McKinney, great to see you, mate.
Oh, Drew, welcome, mate. Good to be drinking with you, and Shane as well.
Exactly. And better to let the old ones breathe or to keep them locked up until just before you drink them. Jesse, in the email that we sent out just a couple of days ago, I do recommend pouring them maybe a little bit earlier. They have been cooped up in those little glass bottles. So Andrew and I are actually going to pour the first one and have a chat about it before we have a taste. Andrew, you do the honors.
Oh, okay. So we should tell people what they're drinking first.
That's exactly right.
Which one?
Now, the order of operation is as it is in your menu. I'm going to put that up on the screen now. The tasting order, we're going to start with 39.199. You may wish to pour this one and maybe 70.40 alongside it in the next glass. And we're going to start with 39.199.
Can I thank Darren for the tip there? Darren says that if you have the volume set to 0, it gives subtitles.
Oh, right.
So I've just notched it up one little bit and the subtitles went away. There you go.
Well, you can keep the subtitles if you want.
They were fun.
Is that now coming through the mic because you've notched it up? What's going on here?
Possibly.
No, I think we're okay.
We're okay.
I think we're okay.
If I turn it down again. The volume set to 0.
No, we're all good. We're all good.
Hang on. Subtitles. Andrew, don't look so closely at your phone. There you go.
He's using a very sensitive microphone.
It's unbelievable. Yeah,
I'm very aware of that. We've poured 39.199 polishing melons, 49.0%. Have you got a problem with the name polishing melons? Is that what's going on here?
I just had a schoolboy moment. Please excuse me.
Please excuse Andrew. Dear, oh dear. So we're gonna rip into this first one here. I'll bring that up so we can all see the bottle as well. That's what we're digging into here. Polishing melons, 39.199. 30-year-old in the sweet, fruity, and mellow profile.
And I'll tell you what, I love it. I truly do love it when the name that our tasting panel gives a bottling is just an absolute accurate reflection of what you've got. And put it up your nose. What do you get first thing? Melons.
Yeah,
straight away. Absolutely beautiful. Now, this is something that let's just not avoid the situation. We're drinking some particularly aged whiskey tonight. Our youngest whiskey is 30 years old or something. Is that right?
Yeah, the youngest is 30.
we've talked about this a lot, or I certainly have in other forums. When whiskey gets to this age, it takes on a character, a style that you just do not find in 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 20-year-old whiskies. There's almost at some point, and it's different for every whiskey, every distillery, every different cask, but you reach a point where you start to get that aged note that comes in. And so I think with all of our whiskies tonight, we're going to be saying, well, do you get that age? And I just on the nose, initially, the answer is no, because the tropical fruit and the melon is just so strong for me.
That if you were presenting that blind, I think you could almost mistake it for being straight off the nose like a 15, 18-year-old kind of whiskey, maybe.
Yeah, kind of like undoubtedly.
As in like there's obvious maturity.
Sure, but if you'd had 5 or 6 whiskeys before coming this and you got to nose it, you'd almost be saying, is this a Chardonnay? Because
yeah.
Am I right?
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's almost you're right about that Chardonnay note, that almost like wild yeasty kind of like, which for this distillery is unusual. I think a lot of that might be attributed to the cask in this case, the second fill toasted hoggy.
Yep.
That toasted note.
Jay Davis, good to see you, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Morsey down in Melbourne, good to see you.
Dr. Akers says a 30-year-old in a sweet fruity and profile is mental.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Because you'd almost expect this to be old and dignified.
Sure, but and fair play to the tasting panel for not just falling into type.
Yeah,
you could almost say, hey, this is 30 years old. Let's just go straight to old, age, dignified, whatever. Wow. Mm. The other thing, of course, that we need to appreciate tonight with what we're drinking is, as you all know, Scotland has some very greedy angels, and the longer that the spirit sits in the cask, the more evaporation takes place. So one of the great privileges of drinking aged whiskey is you're drinking something that there's not very much of. So also, as we go through all our drams tonight, let's just contemplate and consider, not many people get to enjoy this. So this particular cask at the moment, only 177 bottles for the entire world. Only 24 came into Australia. So it's a real rare opportunity to taste something pretty special.
It is, yeah.
1989, this was distilled. What were you doing in 1989?
I was probably just starting.
You were 5 or 6? You
were
5,
probably around 5. I was probably just starting kindergarten.
Okay.
When this was distilled. Like, to think about that, that's unbelievable that it's gone from then, from 89 to now.
Yeah,
that's
incredible.
And I always like to remind people, even of younger whiskies, of that sort of the time aspect. You have, it's a day to make a vodka, maybe a day and a half to make a gin, but in this case, we've traveled 30 years back in time for this whiskey to be made.
Extraordinary. I was in year 11 in 1989. That is also the same year I asked my girlfriend to go out with me.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
And we're still married.
There you go. Yeah. Wow. So, okay, this is also a milestone for you.
Yeah.
So I was crapping my dacks, and you were being an adult.
We started going out in May. This was distilled in October, so I think we'd had our first kiss by then.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow.
49%.
Yeah, that high 40s, low 50s sort of like sweet spot for me.
Hey, something I want to talk about tonight as well, and I guess convey to you and put into your thought pattern is we've had some tastings. Well, I've certainly joined you for some live streams here where we've rushed through them, or we've been under time limits, or sometimes you just move on because of the natural character of the whiskey and it tells you how fast to enjoy it. There's lots of thoughts and theories as to how long you should let a whiskey sit when you crack it. And when it comes to aged whiskies, there's that old thing about 1 minute for every year in the bottle and all those sorts of things. We don't have time for that tonight. But it's very true that older whiskies take a lot more time to reveal themselves and to emerge out of the glass. And, we've both poured this now quite a few minutes ago. I don't think either of us have put it to our lips yet.
No.
So,
and mind you, like, as I said, I find personally, and this will vary from whiskey, but generally speaking, older whiskey, needs a bit longer to open up in the glass. And just for your context, this went from bottle to sample and then immediately sealed. So it's not like it's sort of had any sort of aeration already. So
it's a good point.
In between. So yeah.
I guess my point is more so than any other live stream tasting or virtual tasting you might have tuned into tonight, we really do need to give these whiskies respect. 30 years old, that's a long time in whiskey circles. What's 30 whiskey years in human years? We always talk about dog years and cat years. What's 30 in human years? That'd be in your 70s, surely.
Yeah, for sure.
75,
for sure.
76. We've got to give these old timers some respect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say maybe like mid 60s, sort of early 70s.
Mm.
So when you get to a 38-year-old whiskey, that's, they're getting letters from the Queen at that point.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. We chose this one to start with because it's in a bit of I found this to be quite like a sweet aperitif almost. A really nice sort of sweet whiskey to almost spark the palate a bit. You see, I think it's starting to reveal its age now.
It's funny. It's just
starting
changed.
to once you get past that initial sort of sweet toasty note, you're almost getting to that sort of old.
I think those sweet esters have blown off a bit now.
Yeah,
the more volatile ones, and you're getting into the crux and the heart of it.
Bit of almost just that bit of dunnage floor just a moment ago. This is a bit of a wild time for this distillery. Distillery 39 in 1989. It would have just had its rebuild only just a few years earlier. 85, 86 would have been.
Am I correct in recalling this was the distillery that they had an experimental one out the back that they used to run after they did their big refurb?
Yes.
It was this one, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that was up until 1985.
Right.
And then,
Okay. Liam Smith says he's finding a dark choc mint thing going on.
And Jesse asks, is there anyone else here younger than all of these whiskies? Actually, there are.
Yes, yeah. And screw you.
And it's that old thing. That's that. The longer you wait to try your birth year bottling or whiskies that are older than you, the harder it gets.
Yeah. Someone's just scrolled off the end here. It was Keenan. Keenan saying he opened his 50 minutes ago, yet to taste it on the nose. It's been an incredible journey already. Yeah, great observation.
It's not tired.
No.
Like, when sometimes you taste some whiskies and they're old and you almost get the sense like that should have been drawn out 5 years earlier.
Yeah, but can I put it to you that if it was tired, our panel wouldn't have bottled it?
No, they wouldn't have bottled it, no. I'm going to have a taste of that now.
Yeah, it's time.
Ooh, that's lively. It bounces around a bit.
Beautifully weighted body.
Oh, let that sit for a moment. That's something else, isn't it?
Hey.
Peppermint crisp on the finish. That's a good one, Darren. I like you talking about those peppermint crisp bars from like from that era almost, I'd say. I mean that era of wow. The zing. Still got the zing, yeah. It has. It's got that zinginess to it. It has got that peppermint crisp on that effervescent note in the middle of the palate there for me. He's timing the finish.
I am.
I'm talking too much.
You know me. I am timing the finish. That just is going on and on and on. I'll tell you what, folks, if you swallowed that and just said, yeah, nice whiskey and moved on, you've missed something. That is an incredible finish. That really, it built. There was a crescendo, a wave of second flavour. The tropical fruit was still there, and then some of the oak came through. And then, and still finishing for me, then right at the tail, there's this beautiful sweet malt that comes through that just reminds you, hey, this was made from barley.
Yeah.
Wow, what a dram.
That's something else, isn't it?
I agree with Drew. Drew says it almost fizzes, and there's an effervescence to it. Absolutely.
Yep. So this one came out, I think, in our I think this was released around January. This particular cask, and we were able to squirrel a couple away for this tasting. But there are a few left online of this one. There's only like 8 or 9 bottles left of this one. So if you were keen on one of these, I think it's only about $700 odd this one only. But it's it does go up in price a little bit after this. But
this is a pretty special tasting when you look at what's on it.
Very special tasting.
The last time we would have looked at anything this nice would have been 2 nights ago, maybe.
yeah, just a day in the life of those in the society, right? Yeah, I haven't tasted 30-year-old whiskey since 2 p.m. What a joke.
No, it's a good lineup. It's not too often. I've been privileged to attend some amazing tastings where we've tasted a whole lineup of 40, 50-year-old whiskies. It's not often you get to do something like this in one sitting.
No, not
tremendous opportunity. Wow. Do you know what? I haven't had my second sip yet because my first sip is still giving me something.
Still lingering. And I decided, by the way, for our would you add water to this? That's a good question, actually.
I don't feel the need to.
No, I'm going to take one for the team.
All right, you do.
I'm going to give it a go.
Yep.
Now, my little rule of thumb, I'm sure you've heard me say before, is that young whiskies, especially like young ex-bourbon whiskies, often, quite often appreciate a few drops of water added. Sherry casks, I like to say, tread carefully, if at all, and then old whiskey almost never. However, I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to try just adding in just a tiny bit of water. I've decided to go old school with the tasting jug as well.
You have?
Yes. Because it's older whiskies, and I found one of those old Bob Dewar illustration old tasting jugs.
I remember them well.
And when I say found, I pinched it from Susie's office about a year ago. So it's still here. But so Susie, I still have it. It's okay.
Evening, Susie, if you're watching.
And Darren says, only $700 must be Matt's shout. Yeah, sure. Drew, some expletives from Drew.
Yes.
Good. I'll just bring up that bottle image again so we can all see what we've just been enjoying here. 39.199 polishing melons.
Just a little bit of society history for you. When the society first launched in Australia, we didn't have tasting boxes back then or membership kits. So you actually received a joining bottle. And for the first 18 months to 2 years, no, more than that. It was probably the first, because I had to do it for my first 2 years as cellar master. So for about the first 4 years, you received a membership bottle, and it happened to be a bottle of 39.
All right.
So the society at the time had lots of casks of 39. They'd release them, and then we would specifically get them in Australia as membership bottles. So anyone who joined the society from 2002 up to about halfway through 2006, there's a very good chance your membership bottle was a distillery 39. And I still have my 39 from 2002, which I've never opened. I never opened my membership bottle.
Well, there you go. It was a full size.
Yeah, 700 ml. Absolutely. It was just a regular bottle.
Well, I'm in the membership pack pot size bottle. No.
Yeah. We should open that sometime.
I still have the first bottle I ever bought from the society, which was at one of your tastings.
Okay, what's that?
Chocolate Coke Float.
The Morangy?
Yeah.
There
you go.
Remember that well.
2013 or 14.
God, that was a good whiskey.
Yeah. That was a very good whiskey.
Sorry, we're reminiscing.
Yeah. About very young whiskey.
At
At
an old
collection.
whiskey
Yeah. And now I've added water.
Yes, do tell.
It doesn't ruin it, but it doesn't need it.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. It's just as lovely. Actually, it's even creamier, but it's not. It doesn't need it.
And to be fair, at 49%, you weren't needing it from a heat or a taming perspective.
No. I'm going to let the rest of that sit.
Likewise, yeah. I suggest that tonight, folks, with every whiskey, if you can leave a little bit behind and just put it to one side, and we'll come back and revisit them in a bit more time, because I think that'll these things will reveal some more.
Yeah. A tasting note so long that I'm not going to read it out, but Jesse Morgan, you have a way with words that I'm always impressed by. So
doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
You are a panelist at heart, and Jim says, I wish I was tasting those drams with you, but it's fun listening to the reactions from both of you.
G'day, James. Good to see you, mate.
We'll take it. We'll take it. So there's our tasting water again, just so you can see it on screen. We've started with the 39.199, and we're sticking with sweet fruity and milk the next one.
We are.
Would you like to do the honours?
Oh, well, it's your turn now.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Hang on.
That's the one.
Oh, let's get these in order.
Yeah, that's your job.
Who arranged
that's
these?
Your job. That's
Bloody hell.
Yeah. So we've just poured just a little bit of 70.40 here, and
there's a dribble left in that. So
yep, all good. Yeah,
one of us will grab it, I'm sure. Colour,
yes,
enticing. Pale enough to make you suggest that hasn't been dominated by the oak. Refill bourbon barrel, 30 years. Yep, looks about right, doesn't it?
That's about right.
Lovely name too, Eloquent Silence.
I love this whiskey. Now, Andrew and I had a chance to taste this at a Sydney Balblair experience about
was that
2 months
October or November?
I think it was October.
October,
yeah. Oh, I was about to say, actually, almost 4 months ago. Which is very generously supported by South Trade, and we did it at the Royal Automobile Club here in Sydney. Fantastic event where we got a chance to open one of these bottles, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Just such a
Was it the dram of the night that night, do you think?
It was for me. It was for many. I mean, I think in many ways there was a 70.33 on the, or 32 or something on the night as well, which was an oily and coastal 70.
That was a big hitter.
That was fantastic.
And I gave that my dram of the night, only because it was just so much bigger in the mouth. And by the time we came to this one, it was sort of 5-6 grams in. And
It's kind of hard to put that in a lineup, isn't it? Because it's kind of like,
where do you put it?
Where do you put it? Yeah. Put it at the beginning, it's going to be kind of lost.
And you've gone early.
Yeah.
That's the polite way to put that, by the way.
This PG-rated stream continues. We're all over 18 because we're all drinking whiskey, but you know what I mean.
It becomes MA after 8 o'clock, doesn't it?
Oh, no. I've got 9 minutes of PG left. There's Eloquent Silence. There's the bottle. We are still in the sweet, fruity, and mellow here. And it says on the front label, the soul that can speak with its eyes can also kiss with a gaze. The most eloquent silence, that of two mouths meeting in a kiss, oblivion. Refill ex-bourbon barrel, as Andrew said, distilled 10th of May, 1989.
I asked Kate to go out with me on the 4th of May. This is the 10th of May. That's
You're not going to get much closer than that. You're not going to get much closer.
I asked her to go out on the 4th of May. She answered on the 5th, by the way. That's a true story. I'll bore you with that some other time.
Okay, so let's grab some.
Alex is watching. G'day, Alex. Good to see you, mate.
Ben Soshan says, sadly, I finished my joining bottle watching the Monaco Grand Prix from a roof terrace.
Wow.
I remember that was a 73 dot something. It was a 73, that bottling. And one of our members has said he's not going to open his bottle of it until he's actually at the Monaco Grand Prix.
Wow.
He'll take it with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a sherried 73, I think.
See, I once had that Society bottle soccer match at Blacktown Oval, and I opened that at Blacktown Oval. It was easy.
You're a man of class.
Well,
what can I say?
Oh, James, that's cruel, mate. Did I send her a telegram? Good call. Fair call. I'll pay.
Fair call. That was a good one, yeah. And hashtag team refill. Speaking of hashtags, hashtag Vaults Virtual. Please share your photos of your setup at home. However you're enjoying our Vaults Virtual tonight. Really appreciate you all joining in and grabbing one of these packs. They were far more popular. They sold far quicker than I thought they would.
Yeah.
They were very popular.
Yeah. Again, how often do you get a chance to
That's true.
taste these? This is a funky, fascinating distillery, isn't it? As a distillery, it's a strange one. It's up there in the Highlands. It's
one of my personal favourites of the last couple of years that I've tried.
It's north of Glenmorangie, but it's south of Old Pulteney.
It's south of Wolfburn.
Oh, everything's south of
everything's
Wolfburn. apart from Orkney. But,
apart from Orkney, but yeah.
No, that's a fascinating distillery. When you go there, it's a beautiful building from the outside. You go inside, it's as ugly as sin. It is one of the ugliest stills I've ever seen, but it just makes some really good spirit.
Wormtub Distillery? Am I getting that wrong or am I getting it right?
I don't believe so, but I don't say that with confidence.
I remember it's a very...
it's a big fat still. When you see the still, it's a
very sulfury, meaty
and the room that it's in, it's almost like it let itself go and just fill out the room.
Just stunning. Love this palette. And Mal says the 70 is all stone and goat's cheese on the nose for me. Stone and goat's cheese. Stone.
So stone. Can you elaborate on that? I sometimes associate stoniness and a mineralic feature with some distilleries. Glenmorangie is a good one for that at times.
Yeah.
That mineral note. I'm in the construction industry. In Sydney, we cut it into an excavation. You get that cut sandstone, and that wet sandstone has a really interesting smell. I'd be interested to know if that's what you're referring to there, mate. Goat's cheese? What about goat's cheese?
I mean, I see where you're coming from. That sort of funky kind of, like you call it funky. That's a very funky drink.
Well, I was referring to the distillery at the time, but it makes funky's a weird word, isn't it? It's used to describe a lot of strange things these days.
You know what? This is a very, very old school nose. This is what I love most about it. It reminds me of sort of whiskey of yesteryear. If you were saying, what does whiskey of yesteryear taste like or smell like? This, for me, is the nose.
See, what I find fascinating about it, it's very Highland.
It is.
In that it's not got the fruits or the grassiness or the floral features of Speyside. If you think about that classic Speyside style, that's not really here. It is a more firm, robust, stony. I've used it, stony Highland dram.
Do you often get sort of almost like a coastal note out of some Highland whiskies?
Absolutely, that's what I'm referring to. Yeah.
And it's often overlooked. People often say, you know, it's like, oh, if you want a coastal whiskey, you've obviously got to look at, you know, Campbelltown or Islay or something, or, you know, but it's like you can often get these coastal notes out of a Highland whiskey, which is fantastic. Mineralic is a good word for it. Yeah, Whetstone is what I was thinking of. Yeah.
And Morsey's getting stone fruit.
But please, Morsey, please be more specific. What stone fruit, please, sir? This is so Jabba the Hutt lounging around on the tropical fruits by Princess Lara.
Being fed. Being fed tropical fruits. Well, look, Darren, I will commend and praise any reference to Star Wars during tasting, particularly Return of the Jedi. So well done. Yeah.
I mean, I prefer Empire Strikes Back references. If anyone has any, please. Definitely.
That's all I'm thinking about now. Have you tasted? I've just tasted. Wow. This is we got the tasting order correct, by the way. We were debating before we started which order to put these first two in, and I think we got it right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lovely sort of...
I'm with you about that description of old school.
Yesteryear kind of taste.
Yeah. And there's a creaminess there.
And the spirit's not hidden.
No.
That's the thing I love about this. There's no sort of like 30 years of oak coating it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something else. Yes, an old-fashioned dram barbecue Moreton Bay Bug. Ooh.
My problem with Moreton Bay Bugs is that you never actually get to taste a Moreton Bay Bug. They're always loaded with butter and everything else.
Yeah, sure.
You're welcome, Darren. The force is strong.
Got you, Darren.
Liam asks, what makes it old school? I could get on a soapbox here and start preaching. What makes it old school? In the last 10 to 15 years, we've seen a lot of noise from distilleries and bottlers and marketers who feel that they need to make their whiskies bigger, brighter, more interesting. And so we've seen this huge vomitous outpouring of whiskies that have been finished in exotic casks, and we're now using wine casks and types of casks that were never used. And now we're talking about using new yeasts and strains of different strains of barley. And all the marketers are doing this to put something new in front of your face that you've never seen before. So when you get a whiskey that's just unadulterated and it is what it is without having to have anything exotic about it, that to me, Liam, is old school. I hope that's a good answer to your question there.
Yeah, 30 years in a refill. There's no STR, there's no wild yeast, there's no sort of rechar. It's 30 years in refill, and it tastes like what I like to imagine what whiskey, but both Andrew and I have had the pleasure of tasting whiskey from that era, and it's like that sort of era of whiskey that was, in some ways even more savory than we see now.
And the industry was just starting to come out of that downturn from 1983 to 1986. So many distilleries closed. By 89 was the first year that Michael Jackson published his Malt Whiskey Companion. A lot of people put the current boom we're in, they put the genesis of that down to that publication.
Yeah. Yep.
So by 1989, at the time they put this into cask, the industry was just starting to get back on its feet again. So that's an interesting timestamp to keep in mind as we go through some of these as well.
Absolutely.
Darren makes a good point. There's nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide. That's true. That's true. You can't. It's not just sort of whacked in a wine cask for the last year and hope for the best. Old book library. Yep. There you go.
Yep.
Nowhere to hide. Yes. Buttery white wine. Okay. Very cool. Like a real buttery Chardonnay or something.
Oh, we've certainly got that on the first one.
Yeah, on the first one. Yeah, I'm gonna just come back for a second.
Whoa. Oh yeah. We said we'd do that.
Yeah. Just come back to the different SFM.
Oh, you ready to tune into Dr. Andy's whiskey surgery? Starts shortly.
Oh, okay, thanks. If I tried to keep track of all those, I'd be up every hour of the day.
Again, here's the question: water? No, I'm not going near it.
No way.
I don't think this would. I think this would.
I don't want to mess around with it. Yeah,
water.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't want to mess around with it. That's so good.
James, Carden, bitter orange, malt, and pencil shave. I love pencil shavings. That's a good tasting note. Descriptor, I should say.
But do you like the smell of pencil shavings?
In a whiskey, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't go around shaving pencils just to get my jollies.
I've seen him at work. It's okay. I mean, he really does shave pencils in the office. Shane says, to me, it's like sitting in the midst of a waterfall on a hot summer's day. That's almost like talking. That's almost coming back to that mineralic comment.
It is,
like
isn't it?
The water hitting
Yeah.
the stones at a waterfall. Yeah. That's something else. That is something else.
Wow.
So we've gone from 1989 to 1989. We're sort of, and the profile is the same. It's sweet fruity mellow, but I hope you can appreciate how obviously you can. And they're wildly different whiskies. And I mean, yes, the flavor profile is used as a guide, but it's not a sort of a be all and end all. The tasting notes here, sort of your best.
And again, the rarity. Only 174 bottles for the world. Only 18 came into Australia,
and only 9 left as of right now. Jason says, I got the Petrichor Vindaloo for my first SMWS bottling, and I get similar vibes. I remember Petrichor Vindaloo. That was fairly recent. That was like last year at some point.
I don't recall the distillery number.
Was that a 72 or a 71? Somewhere around there, or dare I say 46? Maybe 46. I think it was a 46 dot something. I'm going to go 46.98. How close am I? Tell me how close I am. Okay, come on. Petrichor Vindaloo. 46.98.
I'm a numbers man, folks. I rarely remember the bottle names. I remember the numbers, so I'm not much help here.
All right, I'm going to wait for Jason to reply on that one.
Hey, James said he picked up a little vanilla milkshake on the nose. I agree. There's a little bit of vanilla in that.
Vanilla, yep.
Yeah, and the milkshake.
Paul, I appreciate your honesty here, saying you're not the biggest fan of this one, saying the blue cheesy note is not my style. Okay.
Blue cheese and someone else got goat's cheese.
Yeah, there is a bit of cheese in there. Yeah. It is definitely mine.
46.98. Well done.
Yes. Come on, how good is that? That's good. Well, that's very close. I'll bang on. Yeah,
that's why he's got the job he's got.
I said 72 at first because I thought it was 72, but I'm glad I got the 46.
No, that's a flex, mate.
Petrichor. And I get what you mean. That petrichor note, that spicy petrichor note you get out of some whiskeys. Absolutely. All right. Nailed it.
Favorite of whiskeys, not 1 and 2.
2 for me.
1 for me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I really like that fruit and the melony, the tropical note that came out, particularly for a 30-year-old.
Particularly for a 30-year-old, exactly. For a 30-year-old whiskey to hold that much fruit is unbelievable.
Outrageous.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I think we might pour the next one.
Okay.
I don't want to rush things along, but I mean we're doing pretty good actually. Just to maybe get it in the glass and have a nose.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the one. So
now here's a distillery that can divide the room.
Oh yeah,
this will be interesting, and I will safely say this is the oldest expression I've had from this distillery.
Oh yeah, me too by a long shot. I mean, most of what we see from Distillery 95 in any iteration is quite young.
Bit more colour on this one. And surprise, surprise, refill sherry butt. I find for me this is the hardest thing of a tasting, whether you're doing it live in front of an audience or live stream in a virtual situation with looking into a camera. But I've done enough in media to know that you don't want dead air time. You don't want silence going over the radio waves. And you pour a whiskey and all you want to do is just nose, which means not saying anything.
Yeah.
And there's 10, 15 seconds of awkward silence as opposed to eloquent silence, which is the last round. Thank you. It was a reach, but I got there.
No, you got that one. That's fine.
But yeah, you just forgive us if we just have a bit of silence while we stick our noses into this and see what it's got to offer.
All the best things come from 1982, says Liam Smith. Yeah.
Does anyone else out there remember every year the KTEL or one of the major record companies used to come out with an album for that year? It'd be like, 1989. And so 1982, I remember, was With a Bullet.
Right.
So anyone got their 1982 With a Bullet album?
I don't.
Yeah, okay.
I do. Oh, wait, let me go through my limited edition LPs. Just find, there it is, all along. We are, of course, on 95.39, just for those playing along at home. This is in Indian summer in a Japanese garden. And it's a 38-year-old in the Old and Dignified.
Not the most forthcoming nose.
No,
I'd have to say.
Needs a bit of time.
James has gone hard early. Truffles, salt-based ramen broth, and rum-soaked dates. Those are great descriptors, mate.
Those are great descriptors, James.
Soy-based ramen. Sorry.
rum-based soy. Gotcha. Yep. No, yeah, it's soy-based rum and broth and rum soaked dates. Yeah.
Now, Drew, who of course is our state manager for the ACT, featured this at a tasting, which he was hosting, and he's got here. This was my favourite ever at a Canberra tasting. In bloody incredible.
And he also bought one of these for himself.
Well,
Drew, you are a man of good taste. This is for me, one of the notes that I immediately get out of this is that earthen truffle note. That's straight away, like that, very like mushroomy, like mushroom soup in a forest kind of thing going on.
And that is why this distillery divides opinion.
Yeah,
because
sure.
This distillery is known for putting out some pretty weird stuff. It's got a flavour profile that's not everyone's cup of tea, and yet it certainly can go into those areas this is that word we were talking about earlier. Some people, there's this word now that people calling funky, describe anything that's kind of a little bit dirty, a bit strange, a bit out there.
Yeah.
Certainly a bit earthy and mushroomy. And we're getting that. Now, there's been a few comments. Thank you very much. There's been a few comments here, and we've said it ourselves. This is a bit quiet on the nose, so let's bring it back up to life a bit. If you're struggling with the nose on this, put your hand on top, give it a swirl. Let's just activate it, really excite the volatiles in there, and put it up to your nose. And there it is. Now I've got something. Yeah.
But isn't it just incredible? This slumbered away since 1982 in a refill sherry butt. And was, again, no finish, no sort of extra maturation, anything like that. It just 38 years in sherry. And the second thing that I love about this particular whiskey is that it was distilled 4-ish, 5-ish years before they ever released a single malt, this distillery.
Yeah.
So this predates even their first release of a single malt in distillation date. It's quite a young distillery in the grand scheme of things.
It was 72.
Yeah.
And it looks it too. Have you been there? It's
I've not been. No,
it's an ugly duckling. It's a lot of architects working in the 1970s have a lot to answer for, I feel. As do designers of jeans. That's when flares come out.
Right. Well, I get the feeling that in 2070 we're going to have a lot of architects in 2070 saying, "Man, those designers and engineers of 2020 have a lot to answer for."
Yeah, well.
Picking up timber. Okay. That's just the old...
It's the only distillery you go to where the workers still go around in a brown skivvy.
They haven't even upgraded to turtlenecks yet.
No.
And flares. That's starting to really reveal itself now.
It's taking time. And we said at the start, if you remember, if you joined in late, we said we're drinking old whiskey. We need to give these things time and respect. And so some of these whiskies are going to take a bit of time to emerge. When I've featured a few whiskies at this age at tastings, and normally if you've got a lineup of 5, and this is the number 5 on the list, you'd say to people, actually pour it and take your lid off at number 4. Give it 15, 20 minutes to breathe before we come to it, because some of them need that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Shane's on the money tonight. Red bean paste.
Red bean paste, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
So refill sherry butt, you'd have to say refill 3 or 4 times, maybe. Not an awful lot of sherry influence, although the colour suggests it was a bit there.
I think there's a fair bit. I mean, you could say
maybe a Fino cask rather than Oloroso.
It could have been, yeah. You'll notice on this one, that's a good point actually Andrew makes there. It says cask type refill sherry butt. Butt meaning the size of the cask in this case, refill meaning it's the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th refill of that cask. But it doesn't say refill Oloroso or refill PX. It just says refill sherry. A lot of that came down to record keeping in the 80s, and
which just wasn't important at the time.
Wasn't important. They know it's a sherry butt. They just don't know if it was a Fino or Manzanillo or whatever. It was just a sherry butt.
But I'm getting nothing to suggest Oloroso. That's all.
No.
That's why I am thinking Fino.
Jasmine flowers is a great one. Jesse Morgan there.
Actually, Morsey says umami, and it's a umami nose. And again, this is what this distillery is known for. And not everyone likes that in a whiskey. So here's also a bit of history for you. Now, in order to tell this bit of history, I need to mention the distillery name.
That's fine.
So do I get a hall pass?
You get a hall pass.
I get a hall pass
because you didn't accidentally mention it.
Right, okay.
See what I mean here?
So if you go into your bottle shop now, you'll see this range of whiskies called the Singleton. And there's the Singleton of Duffton, the Singleton of Glen Ord, the Singleton of Glendolin. And interestingly enough,
There's a fourth one.
There is, yeah. It's out there. Not important.
Okay.
But what is important is that this distillery is spelt a certain way and pronounced nothing like it's spelt. And so I have to say it out loud. It's Arthroisk, and it's spelled Auchroisk. Have I got that right? Yeah. And this was going to be marketed to the Americans in the 1990s. And the marketing people said there's no way that the Americans are going to be able to understand this word, how it's spelled, how to pronounce it. So the marketing people came up with this thing called the Singleton, and it was called the Singleton of Arthroisk. So it was in the label across the top, the Singleton, Arthroisk in small letters. And that was what the Singleton meant for about 15 years. And the brand came and went, disappeared. And then Diageo resuscitated it and brought it back to life about, was it 6 or 7 years ago now when they brought that back into parlance? So we now have the Singleton range again, but it's just interesting to know that this distillery was the original reason why they came up with that nomenclature and where it came from.
With that brand,
yeah. So a bit of history for you there.
Yeah. And people today still can't say the distillery.
That's right. Fine. And try saying it after a few of these and the warm-ups I had earlier.
Yeah. Always preload before a vault tasting.
I'm on medication.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, he is. Amazing dram, Drew. Perfect call. James says it is spelt the sound of an enthusiastic sneeze.
Actually, that's if you read the great writer Michael Jackson, he used to say that about Auchentoshan. Auchentoshan sounded like a...
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Yeah, to taste yet?
No.
It's lively on the palate. I'm enjoying the palate. I think the palate has a bit more to offer than the nose hints at.
Mm.
And suddenly I get those Speyside notes. I'm reminded where I am now.
Wow, how's the finish on that?
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. There's enough spice to keep you interested. When I say spice, I'm almost thinking fruit tingles, actually. There's a fruit tingle note. The green ones. Who remembers the green fruit tingles?
Wow. Took a sip. Wow. Yeah. It's for me, I get even more of that sort of like old mushroom soup on the palate. Just a tiny bit more of that like truffle oil and truffled eggs kind of thing going on. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot going on here, and it's hard to articulate it all because I'm still just trying to work it out.
It's funny. This is the oldest one, and it's the oldest one we're going to have tonight, in fact. But so far, that's the highest in alcohol as well. And so it's just got that little extra bit of kick to it.
Yeah, bit of zing to it. Yep.
Zing. That's the word. Thank you.
Well, the next one gives a little bit higher as well. There you go.
Oh, I said so far.
Oh, so far. Sorry. Yeah.
Two very important words.
And this is why he proofreads out to him. There you go.
Good build.
Good build. Okay.
This is almost a shame to say when you think of talking about something that's 38 years old, which just must be revered and respected. But I'm going to say this is a great quaffing whiskey. That has just got a really beautiful mouthfeel. It grips the side of your mouth. It's got flavour, a bit of zing, and on the palate, doesn't really betray its age.
No, it doesn't. No. Yeah, highly prized fungus. There you go. That's a good tasting.
Well, highly prized one.
Waldorf salad with fruits and nuts.
I'm doing it, mate. I'm gonna add a wee bit. This goes against both rules.
This goes
against cherry, it's old.
And old. Good luck.
So this shouldn't work.
It might. I've tucked a little bit aside of mine. As Andrew and I sort of mentioned before, this is the kind of tasting where if you want to pour it and then save a little bit of your sample bottle or save a little bit in the glass, it works with water?
Add water.
Okay, I'm going to try.
Oh, my God. Here comes the fruit. Goodness. That's game-changing.
Yeah, the fruit's on the nose now.
My goodness.
Opened up all those sort of fungi notes into fruit notes now.
Huge fruit note. Fruit tinkles, as I said before, but before I was saying green. Now it's all the colours of the rainbow.
Good bottling as well.
Yes. Distillery 7, wasn't it?
That was a 26.
I was close.
You were close. Not even.
Had
one was Highland, one was Bonds. So
it had numbers and everything.
Yeah, it had numbers.
Oh, I don't know what's done to the palate, but on the nose, that is really look as our good friend Dr. Bill used to say, that's release the serpent. That's really come to life on the nose.
Isn't that fascinating? How's the palate on that with water? That's actually fantastic.
Wow.
You know, it's, as Andrew said, you can't, it's old and it's sherry that shouldn't work with water.
And yet
it does. It just really does.
Did the tasting notes make any reference to that? Did our UK friends talk about adding water?
With a tiny drop of water, delicate woody perfumed aroma was revealed. We finished an oriental Japanese garden with plum wine.
Yeah, well, okay. I don't agree with any of that, but it's certainly changed.
It's a guide. But balance between the umami and mushroom and spice black pepper makes this too easy to drink.
Yeah, Liam, I agree too. It's a quaffer for me. It's a bloody expensive quaffer, but man, it is so enjoyable.
Wow. I don't want to leave any now in the glass. I just want to.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Our society glasses make the most delightful.
They make a good ding, don't they?
That was gorgeous.
Yeah. A very opulent ding. Jesse says pear and creme brulee before biting into a Bible. Wow. Like biting into a Bible.
I'm a religious person, but I've not gone that far.
Water really does help this one.
I know you should feed off the word of God, but crikey, that's going far. All right.
Yeah, the bread and the wine is certainly enough for sure. And water really does help this one. A mixed berry smoothie with honey, chia seeds, and dragon fruit. Dragon fruit, yeah, good call. Jesse, that's an awesome tasting note.
We need to send this man to Edinburgh and get him on the phone.
Yeah. and there we are. This is one we've been enjoying. This is such a multi-layered dram. This is just
now I'm putting my cellar master hat on here, and I'm trying to think back to when we had a whiskey on our turn that was around about 38 years old. You've got to go back a fair way.
You've got to go back a fair way, yeah. I mean, we had some
Glen Murrays that were of that order.
We had a Glen Glassale of that order.
We did indeed. We had some Longmorns, but that's going back to 2009, 10 when the last one of them came out.
So 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you don't see 38-year-old whiskey very often.
You don't.
No.
You don't. And certainly one that's that good to be bottled as a single.
Yeah.
I can give you some insights. Having spent a bit of time at Broxburn Bottlers, there are some amazing casks of whiskey that are really old, and they don't have that vibrance and quality to enable them to be bottled as singled, and they get thrown into blends for that very reason. And there's a horrible story about the.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're going to say. I know exactly.
There was a wonderful old cask of Glenfarclas that was horribly old, so old that it had dropped below 40%, so it was no longer whiskey. And instead of vatting that, I actually saw it get tipped down a sump. It got tipped out. Tragedy. So just because it's old doesn't mean it's good. So for a 38-year-old to get to the point where it can be bottled as a single cask and shine as a single cask, I think that's a great thing. Did
you find out where the pipe from that sump goes so you can get out the other end of it?
Sadly not.
Yeah, it's true though. I mean, one of the reasons of scarcity of these whiskies is not just the age. Of course it is, but it also, just as Andrew's saying, that the unlikely fact that these casks will the whiskey will actually go that long in a cask as well, without becoming completely over oaked or destroyed or overly tannic.
And there's a demand for whiskies of this age in the blends. Now, am I right in saying that Chivas have a Royal Salute expression that's 37 or something like that?
They did. They did, yeah, a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I think it was just sort of a one-off special release.
Okay. Yeah. Nonetheless, there was that other, the name escapes me, but that was a 30-year-old blend. So, stuff older than 30 will be in it. So there's certainly some blends where casks that can't quite shine as a single get tipped into.
And even less shine as a single cask.
And of course, our good friends at Johnny Walker put out some very rare expressions in their Blue Label range that
Yeah,
stuff would go into.
With age statements often as well for some of their special releases.
Indeed. Yeah.
Well, that's unbelievable. That's probably one of the most intriguing sherried whiskies I've had in a long time.
I'd go along with that, indeed. I think it's your honour.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we're going to move on now to cask 31.37, which many of you will know is on the west coast, and it's just to the northeast of a little island called Isla, on an island called. Well, if I mention the name,
you can say the name of the island.
If I say the island, I'm saying the distillery. Starts with J, folks. And again, this is a distillery that can divide opinion. It's had some it's had some hits and misses. I'll say this though: when this distillery has a hit, it hits better and harder than most other distilleries.
Wow, that's a big call.
That's a big call.
That's
now
a very big
we
call.
had a meeting with another club that you and I are members of that we won't mention. And this distillery put out a 5-year-old, and it was heavily peated. No, it was a purple label, very heavily peated, and that was one of my all-time greatest whiskies as a 5-year-old from this distillery. So as I said, when it hits and it hits the mark, my goodness, they can get it right.
Yeah,
they've had some shockers, but
as
every distillery has. I think it's stupid upholding a distillery saying they always get it. My favourite distillery number 1, has put out a few casks that I'd prefer not to try again. Sulphur gets its way into things, and not every cask is a winner. So
some were just straight up just not interesting.
Yeah, that's it. So there's no point saying every distillery is a winner and can do no wrong. They're all in the same game. They all know it. But it is great when they get it right. And let's see how Distillery 31 did on this occasion.
Jesse asks, as Andrew's pouring that, Jesse's question is, any recommendations regarding palate cleansing? I sort of subscribe to Andrew's method, which he's shown me a few times, which is a bit of sparkling water can help, just in between whiskies.
Two things. You need to refresh your nose and your palate. So sparkling water is great for your palate, and still water is great for your nose. If you're getting to this point where you think you've anesthetized it and the alcohol prickles got too much and you're losing your way, I've got still water here, and just a smell of still water gets you back to ground zero, and you can start again. Now, this is a finish.
This is a finish, yes. This has spent 27 years in a ex-bourbon wood. Again, record keeping. It doesn't say hoggy or barrel. It says
you'd have to assume hoggy at the time for the 80s. They weren't bringing barrels across unbroken. They were always
hoggies, yeah.
Transferring them into. So just to give you some history there, bourbon barrels come across to the UK as 200-litre barrels. And the Scotch whisky industry traditionally would always then add a few staves, put a larger head on top, and increase it to a hogshead, which was 250 litres. That was the norm. When, for a whole stack of economic reasons, that made sense. These days, they're far less likely to do that. The labour and the work involved is significant, and they just appreciate the bourbon barrel as it is. So we see a lot more unbroken up 200-litre barrels in industry now than was the case back in the day, when they would always be converted into hogsheads. Oh, you're getting some wisdom tonight, aren't you?
And some whiskey.
And some whiskey. I see what you did there.
So Darren starts by saying, Kaiju Crush works beautifully.
Hey, Michelle Burns is watching. Michelle, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in.
Good to see you.
And love your work. Keep it up.
Buttered toast on the nose.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Good tasting note.
Buttered. I'm going to go one further and go buttered raisin toast.
Buttered raisin toast. Yeah.
For me, I'm getting the fruit and the sweetness of the raisins.
That's quite. I'm going to do the swirl technique because it's quite closed for me straight away. I need a bit of volatility on that. There it is. Yeah, like prunes.
Prunes, yep. Again, same family as the raisin toast. Again, folks, just think about it. Only 232 bottles for the entire planet. Only 18 bottles in the country. Just think about that. Think about only 18 bottles for the entire country. You know, when you go into Dan Murphy's, whatever, and there's a special wine and it's limited edition, and you find out there's 12,000 bottles for the limited edition. There's only 18 of this in
for that
country.
batch.
Yeah.
And then there's second batch, batch 2. Also,
there was a Seinfeld line about that. Remember the old Ford LTD, the limited, and of course it's only limited by the number they can sell.
Yeah. Brulee and a hint of citrus.
Hey, who said Brulee?
Drew McKinney.
I was on your Drew. I agree. I was just about to say hard toffee. So the toffee you get on top of a Brulee.
It's almost a very desserty dram, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
I guess a lot of that brulee and a lot of that sweetness is going to come from that first Phil Sauternes barrique that I spent 3 years in. You know what I love? Something I love about the panel. Something I love about the society and what Ewan Campbell, our spirits manager, looks after. Are things like this, where he's obviously has a 27-year-old cask, a 27-year-old hogshead of this spirit, and it's like putting that into a first Phil Sauternes barrique in this case, which is fancy French word for barrel, is a huge risk, and it's obviously diverting the flavor profile. Like he said before, he wants to take it in a different direction, and to have something like this and go, I'm going to take 27-year-old whiskey and put it into ex Sauternes is like that's almost absurd by any measure. And
you'd think every other independent bottler just would have said, bottle the 27-year-old and get it done, get it out there.
Yeah, get it out. Yeah. But if he wasn't happy with it, or he wants to move it in a different direction, as he likes to say, move it into a different flavor profile, and we've moved to deep, rich, and dried fruits in this case. Here we go, just to get a closer look at our label in this Vaults collection. 19th of April, 1989. Highland, ex-bourbon hogshead, and then final cask first fill, ex-Sauternes barrique, 55.2.
April 19th, 1989.
What were you doing on April 19th, 1989?
That was Easter Sunday.
Oh.
I have no idea. I made that up, but I got him.
I would believe him. He's a numbers guy. He would know every Easter Sunday from now until 1955. That's why.
By the way, when you say barrique, you have to give it a Gallic shrug.
Barrique. It's from a barrique.
Yeah.
I think deep, rich, and dried fruits is very fitting of the nose.
It is, isn't it? You know,
like everyone's been saying, like raisin toast, sort of buttered raisin toast, caramelized notes.
Yep.
Touch of Ben says, good to see you, Ben. By the way, touch of mango / peach iced tea.
Ooh,
that's a cool taste.
Yeah. I like the reference to the tea there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the peach is forthcoming, but the tea is a good call.
Peach is a good one. Yeah. The malt comes through though too. Good cereal note to it.
Nose or palate?
Yeah. That's a Dr. Akers comment.
Oh, okay, Dr. Akers. Yeah.
And Alex Moore says, what was he doing? He wasn't born. You whippersnapper. And Jesse Morgan says, what on earth is that? Buckle up for a ride with this one, folks. This had its only feature in the only event feature that this bottling has had was at the Tasmanian, the Hobart Christmas party, which I got to present, and myself and our new state manager, Tom Roth, got to present, and neither of us even got a chance to actually taste it because it was so popular with members that it...
haven't tasted this yet? Oh, my God. My goodness. Wow.
That's wild, isn't it?
Right hand turn to Albuquerque.
Wow. You know what I just did just then? I tasted it and immediately nosed it after, and the nose has changed because of the palate.
I'm a bit speechless. That has just taken a right turn in a very, very enjoyable way.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
Wow. I would never have picked that coming. My goodness.
Do you get a bit of horse saddle?
Oh, leather, horse saddle, dubbin, shoe polish.
Dubbin. There you go. That's a good one.
And it was initially, the moment I put on my palate, the first thing I thought was, this is drying. This was starting to suck, which you can get in old whiskey. And then this flavour came through behind in a wave that just completely overtook the mouthfeel and said, hey, here's some flavour. And I reckon they got the name right. Old sea chests. There's a lot of oak there. We're
sea chest,
getting some oak on that. It's almost like I'm speculating here, but I'd love to think that the 27 years in bourbon barrel gave it that oakiness and dryness, and the Sauternes brought in the fruit and the life and the raisins and the toffee.
Mm.
Drew says, "Giddy up." Yeah, good call.
What am I bringing on the cruise? I guess that'll be TBC, but it'll be good stuff. Yeah, and I'll try and find something pirate themed, maybe. I don't know. Charred teriyaki chicken cooked on a hibachi. That's a cool tasting.
I agree, teriyaki. The other thing I'm getting on this is seaweed. Japanese seaweed salad.
Mm.
Wow, I'm loving that. Very different.
Very different.
How can you think of too many whiskies that tasted like this? That's unique, and that is Distillery 31.
Well, that's the society. It's unique. These unique flavors.
But you got to start with a base profile, and 31 just does some really amazing things. The other thing that's fascinating about this distillery, they've got HDD. They've had a few owners over the years, and they experiment a lot because they've been contributing to lots of other blends, and so they do a lot of different things. It's a great distillery which has this. It's almost like Glen Scotia coming out with so many different varietals, if you like. And so this distillery also has done some really heavily peated stuff, obviously unpeated, everywhere in between. They've run their stills different ways. They've done all sorts of things to come up with different character of spirit. And so it's so unique. There's no bottling from any era that you can sort of compare. Each one is different. And this, to me, I don't recall tasting a whiskey like this. And you can probably tell from my excitement, I'm quite enamored by it. I think it's a really sensational dram to taste.
Can you remember one of the first names of this distillery? I had to double check this.
As in a society name? Or?
No, as in like what the distillery was called.
Oh, yes. Started with H, didn't it?
It was Craig House.
Yes. Named after the town that it's in.
Yeah.
And the inn.
Named after the town and the inn.
So there's an H in Craig House. That's where I got it from.
Yeah. Sure. I almost believe you. The sauce on orange chicken with a bitter adult twist. Ooh.
It's MA.
In the MA hour.
We got there.
But that's fine. Maple syrup with orange bitters and charred peach, and then the bubble bursts to give leather, oak wood, all that you could expect that is dry and oaky. It is dry as a dryness, as Andrew said, on the mid palate, but after that, it's delightfully sweet almost, and it's sweet and funky.
That's what really struck me. That first sip was dry, and I thought, oh God, we've got a fence post here, and then the wave of flavour came immediately behind to not redeem it. That's too strong a word, but just to make it such a fascinating, tasty dram.
I think there's let me just double check. I think there is only 7 of these left. So six. There's only 6 of these left. In case you were on the
How
fence.
much before I commit to that?
Yeah, sorry, you already said it. Sorry.
Kate, if you're watching, I'm lying. Don't look at the credit card this month.
We just had a bit of an error to send us. Right? If you're tuning in live, you're watching the Vaults Collection Virtual. Andrew's stream just got a bit interrupted there, but welcome back, Andrew. I think he said something about buying a bottle of this. This is something else, though. This is unbelievable. It's just you're right on. You're bang on about the right turn after nosing. It's the nose and the palate didn't come into sync until I tasted it.
Yeah. And it's a dram of contrasts.
Ooh. Robert says, go back to polishing melons now. Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh.
Wow.
Oh, what's happened there?
There's more oak than there was before now.
There is more oak. But even more stone fruit as well, though. Like the fruits are still leaping out of the glass.
I'm getting sawdust. James, spot on, mate. Salary sacrifice is your friend, AD. Can you do salary sacrifice on a bottle?
Yeah. We'll talk on Monday.
Actually, well, we need the society to name a bottle laptop or notebook, because you can salary sacrifice that.
For anyone on the panel watching, you know what to do next. Water, says Robert Akers. Would you add water to this? I'm not going to.
Not going to go near it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Also, because I've got bugger all spirit left.
Yeah, me too. I've only got a 20.
What a dram of contrast. Speaking of contrast, folks, you're not aware of this. We're looking into camera there, and I'm having an incredible Distillery 31. And in contrast, just off there at 1 o'clock, I'm looking at a bottle of Johnny Walker Red Label. Are you allowed to have that in your job role?
I don't like.
It's on your windowsill, is that?
That's the reason why it's on the windowsill and not on the shelf.
Fair enough.
You know what? Ryan Marshman, you have a lot to answer for. So this is your fault that that's on the windowsill. So thank you very much. I got sprung again.
That's me putting me off all friggin' night.
Oh, there you go. Well, I put it there strategically. Just to
well done.
There you go. I can't see it behind the monitor, so it's fine. I'm fine. Yeah, wow.
Well, I've got a little dribble left there, and I have to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane says dried hickory wood, smoked pear with a hint of oak sawdust. Yeah, you said that. You said that before. And then polishing melons now, old school wax furniture polish. Wow. Yeah, very cool. And James Caden says,
I9, I like it.
31.45 Inspiron i9. There you go.
I like it. I can sadly sacrifice that.
Yeah, okay. I'll go for a 70.41 MacBook Pro, please.
Hey, that comes with 16 meg of DRAM.
Get out.
You can't get DRAM, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Bloody hell.
DRAM.
Try the veal.
He's here a week. Please try the veal. Yeah.
Look, we are 80% in for the mathematically inclined. We're 4/5, four down, one to go out of our 5. Let's just take a stock take. I've enjoyed all of these, quite apparently. None of them are really over oaked. None of them are old or tired. They've all had vibrancy. They've all had life.
They wouldn't have been bottled if they weren't.
Correct, indeed. But having said that, we've tried stuff of this age from other bottlers, and you go, that was past it.
Even like core range.
Absolutely, yeah. So you've got to really take your hat off to the panel and to Ewan, as you referenced earlier, for doing a fantastic job. And again, I said right back at the start, there's an aged note that comes along with whiskies once they hit a certain age, and I said that before tasting any of these. I have to say now, I don't really think we've encountered that too much. None of these have really come back with that Rancio note, for example, or that really old aged.
I'd say there's a bit of Rancio in that last one.
That last one was the closest we've got.
Yeah. And
did it take a finish to do that?
Probably.
Yeah. Probably. Interesting.
Probably. But this I can't get over how much the first fill Sauternes. Again, you and I tasted Sauternes whiskies. Even like full maturation Sauternes.
Yeah.
And they're often completely one-dimensional.
Yeah.
They're just sweet Sauternes to the point where you go, I may as well just drink Sauternes.
Yes. Yeah.
And that one doesn't have that at all.
No.
That's exciting for me. That's where it's given it a lift. It's given it a new direction.
It's probably one of the longer finishes too by the society at 3 years.
Yeah, we're seeing quite a few coming through 3 or 4 years now, which is exciting. I mean, you'll still see sometimes 1 or 2, but 3, 4, 5 years sometimes as well.
Yeah.
There's a tasting order stuff on screen for those who are following along and wish to keep a bit in their glass, or like to come back to the order again. Those watching later. Sack the comedian. Yes, thank you, Ben. Neither of us are. It's all right. No one needs to be sacked this time.
I used to be.
Oh, he was. He actually was a stand-up.
I did do stand-up for a little bit.
I remember that, yes. The 39 is peaches on steroids now. And
yeah, I'm just tasting that, James, just to back you up. And you are correct, sir.
But how old was the Sauternes cask? That's all really matters.
It was probably 10 or 20, and if it was being used in the Australian whiskey industry, we'd say it was 80.
I'm not gonna take any barbs on this tonight. That's all yours. That's all yours.
Okay, I'll put that out there.
Yeah, no, he's right though. He's right.
That's what's called a straight bat. You played that very well.
Yeah. Straight bat. Get it? You made that's your second reference. There you go.
Right.
Anyway,
this is also what happens at 4 drams in, by the way, at a tasting. We've noticed this over the years. We each host a lot of tastings, and you get 4 drams in, and things just become a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, that's the word. That's the word we're looking for.
All righty.
Now, I only had just a whiff of a nose of this next whiskey that we're going to have here, 53.322. And I'm going to say it straight off the bat, even before I've nosed this. This was the best 53 I've ever smelled.
Okay.
Big call, I know.
Big call, particularly after 322 of them.
That's a lot. And I've only tasted barely a fraction of those, but it's still.
Well, we're off to a good start.
Off for a very good start. So we're in Isla now. We're in 53.322, a distillery, obviously in Isla that we've had a long and fruitful relationship with this many casks being offered up to panel and approved by panel. 30 years old in the old and dignified, 18th of April 1989, not too far off the date from my last cask.
Now, what I love about this,
Full refill sherry.
It would have been very tempting to put this in the lightly peated flavour profile.
Yeah.
And yet they didn't.
Or even oily and coastal, almost.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, the peat's still there. There's still an element of it, still, obviously. But it's
Come in spinner, you'd hope so.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
But what happens to sherried Isla whiskey after 30 years? That's the question. It's like it just turns into this different beast. Hell, I mean, you've seen even Isla whiskey turns into a different beast even as it hits like 10 years old. But beyond sort of 7, 8, 9 years old, it's sort of that 10 to 15 bracket starts turning into a different beast. And then you're sort of heading into this territory. Okay.
Hey, Keenan, that's good counting, mate. I've been a society member for 18 months, and this 53 will be my 100th SMWS dram. What a sensational dram.
Oh, wow.
Well, congratulations for knocking up your century.
Yeah, congratulations. Wow, 100. The fact that you're keeping track of that.
Yes, that's what impresses me.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Carpe diem, probably a phrase that no one knew about until that movie came out with Robin Williams.
Oh, right, yeah.
Dead Poets Society.
Yep.
Seize the day, am I correct?
Seize the day. Put that bottle again. Here we are. 51.7%. And only 24 bottles in the country. This was in our February outturn from memory. January or February outturn, sorry, off my head. And it was it's only just we've still got it was a mid-month. It was a February mid-month, I'm pretty sure. Or January. Anyway, sorry. I can't recall. Maybe 4th week January. But it was Andrew likes this whiskey. There you go. Can you see that technique he's using right now? There you go.
Anything you love, you should give a hug to.
Indeed. Darren says we poured ours 90 minutes ago. It's incredible. 90 minutes ago, it was a fraction of what it is now. A minty tobacco, rendered pork fat, and beef jerky. Jesse. Oh, what a tasting note. Pine resin.
When you come to Isla whiskies, it takes a pretty good nose to pick the oak, because normally you get smoke and peat and smoke and salt and maritime notes and sea breeze and seaweed. To actually find the oak, often you've either got to have a well-trained nose that can look for it, or you've got to have a whiskey that's old enough to display it. And I'm getting some really nice oak on this, but it's not tired oak. It's not dry oak. It is sweet oak, smoky oak, and wet oak, I would have to say. And there is that delightful coastal breeze. There's the brine in the air.
Damp fire.
There's the seaweed that's washed up on the shore in the sun, and it's just starting to give off that aroma without being a bonfire, without being a peaty smokestack. My goodness.
Ben asks, how does it compare to the Tempest Out and Bloor? I actually never got a chance to try that, so I'm not really sure. We've got a very small allocation of that, and it was a ballot-only release from memory. So not really sure, because it was all the bottles went to members, and we didn't get a chance to even taste it because it was a very small number.
That's something that we should share with our membership a bit more often, I think. There are some sacrifices made at HQ, and sometimes when we do get a really small allocation, neither Matt nor myself will actually taste it. We'll say we've got so few of these, it's more important that the members taste this or get a chance to buy it rather than we do. So there are a few that go out the door that way.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, both Andrew and I get opportunities to taste things like more than most months and things like that. But just often we do get something where there's only 12, 18 bottles in the country, and we want to make sure that members get the full allocation. Wet oak is the perfect phrase for it. It is a little bit wet oak, isn't it? Sweet, smouldering barbecue by the sea, says Paul. I think you like this one, Paul. No blue cheese in it for you. Smell of the tent after the smoke has been blowing in all night. Wow.
Yeah, good
That's a
call.
good one.
That's a great descriptor because we can all picture that.
Yeah, we can picture it. Like that smoke coming into the tent. Yeah, that's fantastic. Comments like that make me just want to go camping. You know, that sort of feeling like.
No, I never want to go camping.
You don't care for camping?
No, I don't care for it.
Oh, okay. Neither do I. But I mean, it could.
It's like when you read someone's CV when they're applying for a job, and everyone does bushwalking. Everyone puts bushwalking, and everyone says, "Oh, they like camping." But really, do you?
Yeah. What's the other one? It's like can use XL. Great. Wow, I like that tasting. That street hawker stir fry beef by the beach. Like marinated beef by the beach is a good one.
You know what's really funny, and this is just me personally. I'm not preaching or suggesting you should all think the same way, but about lineup tonight, this is the first one where I've thought this has some age. This really needs time. I want to spend some time with this. I really want to unravel it and explore its secrets. And I think it was Darren who said a little bit earlier that he opened it 90 minutes ago or something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a fraction of what it was when he opened it. So Darren's given us some insight that this is a dram that is really going to reveal itself and open up and just develop into something incredible. And it's a great tragedy and shame when you're the host of a tasting that you've got to sort of taste something quickly and move on to the next thing or wrap up the event and push people out the door.
You can take as much time with this one as you like, and you should. It's one of those things that you could really just have it sit and nose it all evening if you like. You've got a few hours in front of you.
And you were right. This is the first one where I've reached in and done this tonight, and I want to because I think this has just got something so incredible to offer. I am seizing the day.
You are carpe diem. Oh yeah, can't go past a 53, and this is the best yet. This one is the best yet. Yeah, this is a rather special whiskey. I mean, just going back to those points we said before, seeing whiskey go 30 years is rare. Seeing one that's a 30-year-old Islay whiskey is exceedingly rare, like increasingly so as well.
In a sherry butt.
And there's the third point. And seeing a 30-year-old sherried Islay whiskey is absurdly uncommon at the very least, bordering on quite rare these days. And even to narrow it down even one step further, as a single cask.
Yes.
It is just and no finish, no additional maturation, just 30 years slumbering away in sherry. He's gone quiet.
No. I might. You're welcome to disagree. On the nose, I'd put that in our top 5 distillery 53s ever.
Okay.
On the palate, top 20.
Okay, fair enough. I agree with the nose. The nose is unbelievable.
The nose is extraordinary. The palate is delicious. Certainly deserves a place in the top 20.
Yeah. And 20 out of 322 casks.
We've had some other 53s that I think on the palate would not nudge this out. That's not a criticism of this. It's just again on the palate for me, the age comes through. Yep. This is the first one tonight that's actually been a little bit drying. The oak has had a bigger footprint, left a bigger footprint than perhaps I'd prefer. Do you agree, or
I'm still coming to terms with it.
Okay, yeah. All right.
I agree. I like the nose just a smidge more than I like the palate, but I think maybe as to Darren's comment, it just needs even just more time.
Yeah, perhaps some of that might blow off. Morsey says best one of the night, close to best 53 I can recall.
Bam, thank you, ma'am. Distillers, take note.
Our good mutual friend TC and I think, need to combine forces and pluck some 53s out of the archive.
I was very lucky to present actually one of my favorite 53s ever was one I presented at a tasting, which was 53.5. So it was the 5th ever 53. And that was a 1972 cask, I think, or 1976, somewhere around there.
72 was when they built the new still house.
I think it was distilled 72, that one.
Okay.
Maybe old still house.
Oh, hang on. Whoops.
No?
Was it 72 or 67 they did that?
I can't tell.
Yeah. Got to be careful saying these things live. People then look it up on Google and go, "Ha, you got it wrong."
And then they'll tag you.
And I'll tag you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hedge my bets and say it was either 67 or 72.
And then you'll find it at 71.
That's right.
Dried oak leaves and honey on a bed of petrichor. Petrichor's back.
That's a big word, isn't it?
It is a
Is
big
it
word.
petrichor? Petrichor.
No, core.
It is core.
Yeah,
CHOR.
CHOR, yeah.
Fancy word for that smell that's in the air after rain and water comes down on cut grass.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I'd say it's less cut grass, but more sort of post-rain.
Post-rain. Okay.
Yeah, post-rain smell. Wet and lush wood that has been revived to give off the last of the nectar. Touches of ham and oyster sauce, which can give so much more if you resist the temptation to drink it all. Sadly, I cannot.
Paul says here it reminds him of that 13-year-old CI that came from another bottler.
I can see that.
I can see that. Yeah, I think I'd rather mention the distillery than that bottler.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that bottler, yeah, there you go.
They're good friends of ours.
They are good friends of ours.
Genuinely, they are good friends.
They are, yeah. Ooh.
We've swapped casks with him.
We have done cask swaps with them before.
Some of those you'll get to see in a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or sooner.
Sooner.
Actually, there is one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Water?
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Again,
I don't think it'll take the wood and the oak, and this tells me I think it would fall apart.
That mid-50s already. It's not even low 50s already.
What I am enjoying, who remembers Allen's choc mints?
You mean like
they used to come in they were white and brown in a pack.
Like junior mints?
No, they were little balls. They came in a green can. Help me out here, folks.
No, the green, it was a green can. Cool mints.
Cool mints. What did I call them? Choc mints.
Yeah. Was there choc mints as well?
There was a choc mint. Yeah, there was cool mints.
I remember cool mints.
Cool mints were white, and then choc mints.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Well, you're tasting it now. There are in our group quite a few people watching right now. If you remember Alan's choc mints, please back me up here.
Yeah, I think I maybe recall them existing. I don't think I remember just the cool mints.
Yeah, okay. They were the sort of things that your parents bought on the big long road trips interstate. And it was to shut the kids up in the backseat.
Just give them a can of sugar and shut up.
Yeah. Can? No. They were drip fed one at a time every 20 kilometres. It is a glorious nose.
It is.
And I amuse a few people in my enjoyment of the nose. I'll sit and nose something all night and people say, just shut up and drink. But you could nose this for a long time.
You could.
Our friend, Mr. Cowie, I think, would get a lot of enjoyment out of this.
You hear that, Mr. Cowie? Buy one of these.
He's Scottish, mate.
No, I wasn't going to say it. Yeah, I mean, anyway. The 31 is really developing now. Oh, okay. Let that 31 sit in the glass a little bit longer. And Jason says this 53 is like an overworked outboard motor out to sea.
Ooh, yeah.
So you're getting a bit of grime, bit of that sort of outboard grime. That's fantastic.
But the smoke as well coming out of the...
Yeah, smoke coming out of the motor, yeah. Now, whilst we're enjoying that last dram, a bit of a small announcement. We produced this pack exclusively for our members to enjoy and come on this journey with us tonight. We do, however, have one full set of these Vaults Collection drams. I'm holding my hand right now to give away. And this giveaway is going to go to either an existing member or a new member. So all you have to do is between now and the end of March, 31st of March, 31 days in March. Yeah.
There is, yes.
By the 31st of March, we'll draw this on the on April Fools or something then as a result. But it will be a we're going to give one of these packs away valued at $199. All you have to do is refer a member. They put your name in the referral box.
Refer a friend to be a member.
Refer a friend to be a member to the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, and you will they'll go in the draw to win this. We're going to give it away. So if you don't do it, I'll end up drinking it. So please refer your friends to join, and you they'll go in the draw to win, as will you if you refer them. Lots of mineral coming through.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mineral.
It's taking on a more austere note. It's becoming a bit mintier.
More cool mints.
Yep.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it? Yeah, I think I'm tempted to, because I think
I'm trying.
I think it might go somewhere.
I've got bugger all in the glass, so I'm just going to just a tiny
Good
bit.
dribble. Yeah. I'm going to follow suit. What's that song you sing?
I wish I hadn't done that song.
No, okay. Well, hang on. Maybe we have different ratios, but that's brought the nose to life for me.
It certainly changed it. I think I preferred the nose before. I'm going to try it with the water.
I like what it's done to the nose.
I like what it did to the palate. That was lovely. Yeah. So water can work with.
Oh, stop the press. James says he's getting a little burnt rubber on the nose. Now, sir, are you suggesting sulfur on the sherry cask? Are you burnt rubber? That's normally the marker.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get any of that. Did you?
No, I didn't get any either. No. And I'm sitting next to someone who has one of the most sulfur sensitive palates I know. And I'm always waiting for you to say it, because it's.
Yeah,
I pick up on sulfur as well, but I just don't. I think Andrew's far more sensitive to it than I am. So.
I mean, look, to be fair, you can get burnt rubber notes that are not
sulfuric,
not from sulfur influence.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Yeah,
and that might be just from the distillate.
Just interesting, James said that you got, indeed, absolutely, yeah. So sorry, James, I'm not at all trying to.
No, it's not saying you're wrong. It's just one of those things where it's like it's a very interesting call.
When someone does get that, you think, oh, hang on, is this a dirty, tainted cask?
Yeah. Not sulfur, someone says. I can't see who that is, sorry.
That's James.
That's James.
It's the same person who made the comment about...
my description might be a little bit rusty. No, it's okay. Sorry, it wasn't sort of a dig at you, James, at all. It's just one of those things
burnt rubber is a trigger word. It's a red flag that is normally one of the descriptors we associate with sulfur taint. So when someone says it, it sets off a little alarm. So apologies if we went early there. Yeah, Drew McKinney has made an interesting point, and he's used some words here that I'm not familiar with. Does that make any sense to you? Or is this the comment about an overworked outboard motor?
Drew, I get the feeling you might know more about outboard motors than these two people in this room.
Halverson Cruises Engine Bay. Halverson.
Good old Halverson. I use one every Sunday. I got no sulfur. Sulfur.
Wasn't that song by Glenn Campbell? No, that was Galveston.
I don't know that one either. I'm sorry.
Galveston.
Galveston.
Galveston. Bay? Glenn Campbell.
Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Country music. Well,
okay, sure. Okay.
Move on.
We've made multi-reference points here.
It's like watching Family Guy. You got to keep up with it all. Pop culture references.
Wow.
I'm surprised at this. It took a drop of water well.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it more with water. It's a beautiful expression of 53. Lovely drop. And let's be honest, you're not going to taste a 30-year-old Isla too often.
No.
From any distillery.
A 30-year-old sherried Isla.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What a treat. What an absolute treat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been seriously exciting, and I really want to thank all of you for joining in on our first big virtual of the year.
Yep.
And of course, you saw Outturn today. If you haven't seen Outturn today and you'll remember, it's in your inbox. It's on our Facebook group, it's on our Instagram, all those places. But have a look at Outturn, because the March Game Changers virtual is in there, which is for the 20th of April, I believe, on the top of my head. It's a Saturday. I should have checked that before we went live. But that's coming up, and that's going to be a really exciting lineup as well, that Andrew and I are looking forward to hosting for you as well. Please take your time with the rest of your drams.
Don't rush them, folks.
Don't rush them. These are very old whiskies that deserve time in the glass and deserve to be nosed and appreciated. And of course, any of them, there are still a small handful of each available on the site for anyone who wanted to grab one. But of course, that's the way it goes. Anything more from yourself?
I'd only say, what a fun night.
What a fun night. COVID fist bump. And we'll see you all, of course, We'll see you all soon. Of course, thank you so much again for joining in. Please, if you've taken photos of your lineup, of your setup, use the hashtag VaultsVirtual, and we'll keep track of it and keep sharing it around and keep the sharing nature of the society and our membership going. So that's all from me.
It's been a pleasure drinking with you.
Sanjivan, and thank you so much for joining in.
Bye for now.